Hello everyone. So today I'm going to talk about my collection of books that I have of Conan books. So most people know Conan. I believe it's one of the probably most known um, heroes in fantasy. Apart from Lord of the Rings, probably Conan is one of the best known, either by the movies, either by the video games, or the books itself. And we're talking about Robert E. Howard. He wrote these books almost 100 years ago. Well, it started almost 100 years ago. Fortunately, his life was not that long, so he ended up dying before before he was 40. But he did write a lot. There are a lot of stuff written by him. I'm going to show you just what I have. So the books that I started this collection is a collection that was published by Del Rey, I believe 15 years ago, 2003. So yeah, not 20 years ago. Um, which were these editions. There's beautiful editions. We've got the Bloody Crown of Conan. We've got the Conquer Sword of Conan and the Coming of Conan, the Cimmerian. And these books have artists which illustrated the book, and some of them quite amazingly. Some shorter, shorter. Let me just give you an example. So, for example, artwork. Some of my favorite artists are here. In this case, my favorite artist is Gianni. I don't know his first name, but I can check it. But yes, he does really. This is Mark Schult artwork. Then we've got here the second one with the Conquering Sword of Conan with artwork from Gregory Manches, and the artwork is a bit different, which at the same time enhance the quality of the books, because they are not always drawn in the same way. So that's interesting. So for example, this art is a bit different from the previous one. And the last one, Gary Gignani, sorry, it's Gary, his name, I'm sorry. And here is some of his artwork. He also made my favorite book, which is Brandmark Morn, and that one has amazing artwork, interior illustrations, um, and this collection is probably one of my most prized collections. You have these three books. You have the horror from him. You've got some woman, that horror fiction, the woman, the Solomon Kane, the Brandmark Morn, and the Cull of Atlantis. So everything there, and it's amazing. Everything was, I believe, these books today they are very expensive. Back then they cost $15, so I remember paying around 15 euros for them. Yeah. So these are the main books. So everything that he wrote from Conan, it's here. There are some back in the end, like untitled drafts, books that he wrote but never finished, or stories that he wrote, or for example the untitled synopsis, for example this here. And you've got a lot of stuff here that is hidden, so not usually published. Then he went away, and unfortunately for us, for 20 years or so, 30 years or so, Conan went away because Weird was not, probably, I mean, the recession was there were some problems, and they stopped, like Lovecraft, they disappear. But then in the 60s, there were a couple of guys who helped bring up this, and these people are They published these books. The El Sprague, De Camp, and Lynn Carter. They start publishing these novels. Here, this is a Lancer book. There are several editions. I have two editions, to be honest. These two editions, and but this one is probably my one collection. So these are books that are written by Robert E. Howard. Then there are stories by Lynn Carter, some stories by De Camp, and so on. So as you can see there, the stories are told. So everything here are in between. So basically they try to do something like chronological stuff. They're publishing the stuff chronologically. For example, in this tale we have The God in the Ball, or you've got some introduction to Hyperborean Age by Howard. You've got a story that the camp finished by Howard, like the All of the Death and so on, Tower of Elephant and so on. So this was the first book. Then the second book was Conan of Cimmeria, sorry, and this one also has stories by all of these three writers. So Howard, Carter, and the camp. And then the third book, it's Conan the Freebooter. Again, this one also several stories by all of these of writers. In this case, we have Shadows in the Moonlight, or The Witch Shall Be Born. This one, interestingly, only has one story by Sprague de Camp. Lynn Carter is not present here. I believe there is one that it's only Howard and so on. So then we've got Conan the Wanderer. So as you can see, these ones are one editions, and this one is a bit different. Unfortunately, finding them all in the same edition is quite expensive. I don't have the money, and it's good. And this one has some Black Tears by Sprague and Lee Carter, Shadows in Zambula, Devil in Iron, Flame Knife. Interesting. And then we've got Conan the Adventurer, and this one has also all of them have introductions, which is very interesting, and this one has one of the most probably known novels by him, stories by him, which is The People of the Black Circle. Then we've got Conan the Buccaneer, and this one has it's as you can see there, the stories themselves. So this one it's a bit different, to be fair, because it's like a complete novel by mixed stuff. Then Conan the Warrior, 3 Glorious Stories. So this one has Red Nails, probably the most famous by him, or second, I don't know, and Jewels of Qualur and Beyond the Black River. Then we've got Conan the Usurper, Phoenix and the Sword. I'm saying just probably the best known by him, okay, not all of them, because all of them are like 4-5 stories, and that's. So this one is Conan the Conqueror. Conan the Conqueror, probably it's a tale. It's a novel, not a tale. It's a novel, and it was published in this case by Robert E. Howard. Yeah. I was trying to find out more information on it, but yes, I'm not going to delve much more on it. Just a quick note. So sorry. And this one is the only one I believe that it's as a different person writing, which is Conan the Avenger, which has another writer. In this case, we've got Bjorn Nyberg and Charles. Okay. Then Conan of Aquilonia. Okay, this one is again has 4 stars. 4 stars, not 4 stars. 4 novels. Let me just write out. I'm sorry. So yeah. So after the final one, the final one, it's Conan of the Isle. This one, I believe it's the only one that doesn't have any tale by Conan, by Robert Howard. Unfortunately, sometimes the numbers change between where they are published. So this may be number 10, in this case 6, but if you go here within, it says that number 6 in the Lancer edition, chronology, this volume is number 12 in the saga of Conan, following the Conan of Aquilania. So this is 12, and so that's why these are changed. So they are the same, different publishers went different ways. I don't know why, but that's how it was. Then there was like, they stopped doing this, and after a while, so this was, let me just check the notes. This was until the 1960s or something, 70s, 68, and then we've got new novels published a bit later. So in the 70s, we've got Conan the Swordsman. This one is our beautiful editions that have like this flap cover. This one was written by several. There are several stories, and in it's Prague, Du Camp, the Lynn Carter, Bjorn Newberg, you already talked about it, and that's it. Then the second book on this tale is Conan the Liberator. So again, same thing here, flap cover. These ones are pretty difficult to, not difficult, but hard to find in perfect condition. And this one is a story by Sprague Du Camp and Lynn Carter. As you can see there, it's a full-length novel of tale. Yeah. Then we've got Conan the Sword of Skelos by Andrew Offutt. This is the first take of this author here. Again, same collection, very good. It's the third book. Okay, there are some illustrations, if I'm not mistaken, here, but nothing major, nothing really that will make you buy the book just because of it, like this symbol, something like that. Nothing major. Then you've got the Conan, the Road of Kings. This one was published by, written by Carl Edward Agner, which later on published his novels, his fantasy novels, that were I recently bought, and I already show in the channel, which is you can see them here, but it's above 5 novels, again, Sword and Sorcery the Kane series. This was published in 79, again, a full-length novel, Conan, Road of Kings. This one doesn't have the flap cover. Probably either they stopped doing, or maybe my editions didn't have it. Then we've got Conan and the Spider God, which is Sprague Du Camp. This is very beautiful artwork. And finally, Conan the Rebel. Again, this one already has this one. So maybe those two are editions that, well, I don't have it, but there maybe exists somewhere. Unfortunately, I don't want to pay hundreds of euros for a book. Then things change, and we are introduced to a new series. These ones, these are published by Ace Series, and these ones are a bit different. They are written by 2 authors. The one of them is Adrian J. Offutt, and they are artwork by Maroto. Okay, so this is the first novel, Conan and the Sorceress. Okay, and this one is heavily illustrated. Okay, as you can see there. This is one of the most beautiful books of within this universe. So everything is heavily illustrated. There are 3 novels on this series. Then we've got Treasures of Conan and Treasures of Tranikos. As you can see, it says over 50 illustrations. So a book of 200 pages with 50 illustrations. It's not something to scoff about or to laugh about. So everything here, there is a lot of artwork. So this one is very, very good. This is published by Robert E. Howard, but it was revised and edited by Sprang de Camp. Then the second novel on the series, they're not particular series, but they follow a trilogy, if you want. But it's not a trilogy per se. It's Conan the Mercenary by Andrew Offutt. This one has as well artwork, but by the same author. Okay, so finally you've got Conan and the Flame Knife, Lavlish illustrated. This is also by Robert Yard and Sprague du Camp. Some of these illustrations, they are known probably from the comic books, if I'm not mistaken, but I don't have the comic book, so I can't really talk about it, but they are heavily illustrated. Then I'm going for the bit more rapidly. This was the last book published by Ace back in this era, 81. But then a new something new arrived, which is Thor, and Thor published a lot of novels. I'm going to show you. I've got all of them except one. They were published, some of them like in a quick. They are the first ones are in chronological order, but then they start publishing novels, but not in chronology. So you may have a younger, an older Conan, and even sometimes more focus on the side characters, or sometimes even other places and so on. So I'm going to show you some, and one of the best known probably is, of course, you all know Robert Jordan. He wrote several Robert E. Howard Conan novels. I have all of them. Unfortunately, one of them it's not here. I have misplaced because it's the last one I read, and I don't know why it's not here. And this one is Conan the Destroyer, based on the movie, as you probably can tell. That's Arnold. Then several others. Robert E. Howard, you got here. Sorry, my allergies. I'm not going to speak much about them. Most of them I have not read it yet. So, and this is Conan the Triumphant, Conan the Invincible, Conan the Defender. This one is the one that is most damaged. I can't find any new copy. Conan the Unconquered. All of these are published by the same guy. So, Conan the Victorious and Conan the Magnificent. All of them published by Robert Jordan before he wrote The Wheel of Time. Then I'm going to show you Rumbles. They are almost all of them by the same 5 or 6 authors. You've got Leonard Carpenter, The Renegade. The Raider, this one is published by Leonard Carpenter again. Steve Perry, The Defiant. This one was probably the most hard to get. It cost me 30 euros or something like that. Some are bigger, don't know why. Conan the Victorious. Conan the Savage, Conan the Valorous, and Conan the Formidable. Beware, just take in consideration that if you go to Goodreads, you can find most of them with a rating. Almost all of them will have a rating below 4. Some knew how to write Conan stuff, Conan pastiche, and some tried to innovate, tried to do something more. And some failed and some not. If you enjoyed the Conan books for what they are, like Sword and Sorcery, and if you don't, okay, but Howard didn't write like that. If you don't mind that, you may enjoy them. If you are a purist, then you probably will not enjoy the the books, at least some of them, because some of them really go, really made Conan different. Conan the Rogue, John Maddox Roberts. The Warlord, the Great, the Bold. Oh, this one I will have to keep it to the end. Conan and the Green Grey God. One of the few that it's not like Conan this something, Conan this something. Conan and the Dead Lord of Tanza. These were some of the last books published. Conan at the Demon Gates. Conan, Lord of the Black River. These ones again are some of the oldest books, so they don't follow this trend of the Conan of something. And there are, I believe, one more. Then everything else is like an adjective or something that he did or he was or something like that. Conan of the Red Brotherhood. Conan the Indubitable. Conan the Valiant. Conan the Guardian. Conan the Hero. Conan the Champion. Conan the Freelance. Conan the Fearless. Conan the Relentless. Conan and the Gods of the Mountain. Of the Mountain. Again, some of them are in order, so if you find it, you can search in Goodreads again. I believe there were 18 books that were published in a chronological order. Then they went overboard. Conan the Outcast. Conan the Gladiator. Conan the Scourge of the Bloody Coast. The Marauder. The Hunter. And the Shaman Curse. Conan the Amazon. And the Treasure of the Python. And finally, not finally because there is one more, Conan and the Manhunters. There is one more that it was published on these. Basically, these books were published between early 80s to early 90s, 95 or something like that. And these books, I believe that don't quote me on this, but it was like in the 90s. Then they stopped. They were back in the 80s. There were 2 movies dealing with Conan. There were several stuff to with fantasy, but fantasy was a trope, like always like that. They didn't change much, so don't expect innovation stuff like that on these books. Then there was this book, Conan and the Emerald Lotus by John C. Hawking. And why I'm giving you this particular one, I'm going to show you afterwards, just so you know. But then the fever for Conan disappeared, and for a while we didn't get any book. In 2003, so probably 5 or 6 years after the last book, I'm not talking about the comic books, Eric Doltradov wrote another book trying to inspire, which is Conan the Venarium, which is young Conan. It's a young Conan book. It didn't stick, so they stopped doing that. Now, several years later, I will say not. I know, with the Conan books started arriving again to the shelves, because there was like a boom in the old stuff. What I mean by this is that people are wanted older things as well. So sometimes they don't want newer novels. No, they want to see something nostalgic. That's the word. And so Titan Books start writing several books. The first book they wrote, if I'm not mistaken, it's this one, Conan and the Blood of the Serpent, by a famous author, S.M. Sterling. This was published in 2023. Yeah, 2023. It doesn't have artwork or something like that, but it's a big book. And this would make it the newer stuff. And then they publish a couple more books. You've got here Conan and the City of the Dead. This is a duology by John Siakak. You remember the author from this book? It's the same author. He said, okay, there is like a info if you want to read about that, the knowledge and so on, but basically he wanted to write a sequel of Conan and the Emerald Lotus. And so he wrote this novel. So after 20 books, 20 years or something like that, probably more, 95, 2020, yeah, 20 years. So you got the Conan and the Emerald Lotus, and then the sequel there, which is the Conan and the Living Plague. These two novels make the Conan and the City of the Dead. That's why it's printed like that. And then the last book I have, it's because there are more coming, Cult of the Obsidian Moon, James Lovegrove. And then, sorry, my allergies are bad. There are more 3 books coming out in the next few months. Conan, okay, they are already out, but in the hardcover editions. Conan and the Spawn of the Serpent God, and Conan and the Gold. I'm sorry. I don't edit, so I'm sorry for this. Conan of the Dark Gods, which is another book that is going to be published by Jonathan French. Golden of the Spawn of the Serpent God, it's the Tim Wagner book. And the last one in the pipeline, it's Conan, the Brides of Crom. This one I'm very eagerly to read, because it's written by John Lagan, which is one of the most famous weird horror writers out there. So yeah, so I don't think that Conan is back like when they published 5-6 books per year, but there are some interest. Now, having said all of this, I want to tell you something else, because there are other books out there that you can read and get that feeling. I'm going to show you some. Some are, well, creations of Robert E. Howard, Red Sonja novels. There are 6 novels published by David Smith and Richard Tierney. Red Sonja and the Ring of Ikribu. Beautiful painting. Red Sonja and Demon Knight. Red Sonja When the Hell Laughs. Red Sonja and the Editor's Daughter. Red Sonja Against the Prince of Hell. And Red Sonja and the Star of Doom. There is also now a new novel by Red Sonja, which I have, but I don't have it here. I don't know where I put it. You know, my collection is very big. Now, there are other writers out there writing good books, and some of them I already spoke about them, and which is Andrew Offutt, and he published a couple of novels in the same vein of Conan: Demon in the Mirror, The Eyes of Sarsis, The Web of the Spider, then a couple of independent novels, My Lord Barbarian and Iron Lords. He also wrote several novels which I have but not have it here because I have in storage, which deal with some other books, and I'm not remembering the names of the books that I have. Uh, they are like the other heroes created by Howard. Then we've got the Raven series, published by I don't know which Corgi, sorry, Richard Kirk stuff. This has some nudity, so beware. Sword Mistress of Chaos, A Time of Ghosts. It's Raven and the Frozen God, Raven and Lord of Shadows, and Raver and A Time of Dying. These are very similar to Red Sonja stuff. And now more 4 novels by Frank Frazetta, book The Dead Dealers by James Silk. This is The Prisoner of Ornate Helmet, beautiful paintings. Lord of Destruction, Tooth and Claw, and Plague of Knives. And finally, I know that these books are a bit controversial, so beware. And they are the Tarzman books, so the gore. They are kind of Sword and Sorcery. It was inspired by them, but they have heavily sexual themes, so if you don't enjoy that theme, and today it can be a bit controversial, people may think that it's not good compared with Conan books, which may have sex, may have nudity, or may have stuff, but they are not well, controversial as of this. You've got I only show you like 6 or 7, just so you know. They are published by John Norman, Turner of Gore, Outlaws of Gore, Priest Kings of Gore, Nomads of Gore, Assassin of Gore, Raiders of Gore, and Captive of Gore. They are like, he still writes. It's amazing. He wrote the first book in the 69, and he still writes, so it's an amazing feature. He writes a lot. He's writing like a book per year now. I have not those. I have like the only ones he published by Dawn and so on, so like 30 books, but today the series is ongoing for 50 or something books. And then there are authors that write this kind of Sword and Sorcery, the feeling of Conan. Sometimes they try to innovate, sometimes they don't, or can't. DMR books, you can search for it. They have several interesting novels dealing with Sword and Sorcery. My favorites are Toon. I'm not going to say the author's name because I'm going to butcher the name. You got Brian Roberts stuff as well, which are pretty good. They have some old stuff as well, Merit and so on. Even the publisher DMR Books, it stands for the name of a writer as well, Ritzlin, I don't know, probably going to, you search in the Amazon DMR Books or in the Google, and you see the books that they publish. They publish a lot of Swords and Sorceries. Some are very good, some are highly praised, and I have all of them. I believe I have shown my collection of DMR books as well, but you can go there and search because they do stuff, interesting stuff. So Sword and Sorcery is not dead. It's just like a niche kind of, because not all people enjoy. Some some try to do new things with Sword and Sorcery because new authors, you know, all of the old stuff. Usually, it's the man was like the warrior, the woman was more frail. Conan didn't do that. Bellet is the best example I can say about this. It's a powerful woman, Red Sonja, and but some authors try to went that way, so trying to make that kind of distinction between man and woman and stories. Nowadays, I have not read any of these books, but I will say that they don't follow this trope, or else they will be cancelled by the media and so on. Um, but some authors do try to do write this thing. Now with independent publishing, you can write whatever you want, and unless it's well, some kind of banned stuff, you can write about it. So you can find it some self-publishing novels out there which are good and different and remind me of the 80s, remind me of the 60s and so on. So if you enjoy that kind of stuff, you can easily find it. If you want newer stuff, maybe try um, these books because they are, you can find it else anywhere. The other stuff I show you, it's different. You have to go to eBay and find them. Some are republished, some were republished, most of them are not. So yeah, that's it. I hope you enjoyed this video. You know, I don't do takes and so on, so I'm sorry. That's how I do things. I don't have the time for that. Well, the time I have, I read. Basically, that's it. That's how I read it. Thank you.